Board for the El Paso Community College Board, College District, and I'd like to let everyone know that would like to follow along at home on their internet. You can go to www.youtube.com/user/go-EPCC. Can you all stand and say the pledge of allegiance? I'd like to welcome everyone to our meeting this evening. Can you call the roll, Bill?
Mr. Uxer.
Here.
Mrs. Robles.
Here.
Ms. Naheda.
Here.
Dr. Graham.
Here.
Mrs. Moy.
Here.
Mr. Mendez.
Here.
Mr. Haggerty.
Here.
Item 1.4, approval of minutes. This includes June 25, 2025 regular Board of Trustees meeting minutes and July 30, 2025 regular Board of Trustees meeting minutes.
Move to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question, Bill.
Mr. Uxer.
Aye.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Naheda.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Mrs. Moy.
Aye.
Mr. Mendez.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye. Again, I'd like to welcome all our guests and staff members. 1.6, Bill.
Item 1.6, open forum. There is none. Section 1.7, presentations by individuals, groups, and organizations. Item 1.7.1, Mr. Matt Harris, Senior Vice President, Hilltop Securities Asset Management, LLC, will provide a presentation to the President and Board of Trustees regarding the Student Success Endowment Fund as required by the endowment resolution. This will also include item 1.8.1.1. Mr. Fernando Flores, Vice President and Chief Financial Officer, Finance and Administration, will provide an update on the Student Success Endowment Fund.
Chair Haggerty and members of the board, I'd remind you this is the second year of operating under the resolution that the board passed for the Student Success Endowment. The staff has made adjustments to the resolution. The board has approved those adjustments. In addition, the Board of Trustees what they took, we implemented, and with the guidance of our investment advisor. And so the $30 million has now been invested. Mr. Harris, the Senior Vice President with Hilltop Securities, will be presenting a portion of the slides, but I'm going to ask Vice President Flores to begin. Please, Mr. Flores.
Thank you, Dr. Serrata. Chair Haggerty, Vice Chair Naheda, Secretary to the Board, Dr. Graham, members of the board, and Dr. Serrata, thank you for the opportunity this afternoon to make this presentation. My name is Fernando Flores, Vice President of Finance and Administration. As Dr. Serrata mentioned, Mr. Matt Harris with Hilltop Securities Asset Management will present a portion later on of this presentation, in particular covering the investments that were made of the $30 million in August in compliance with the investment strategy as provided by our Board of Trustees. So the presentation this afternoon is in direct support of one of the resolution items that the board approved in August of 2023, which requires that at the first board meeting of the fiscal year of El Paso Community College, the Executive Committee shall annually prepare and present a budget and a report regarding the Student Success Endowment Fund to the President and the Board of Trustees. As the chair of the Executive Committee, I'm fulfilling that requirement on their behalf. So what you see on the screen is the agenda for this afternoon on the presentation. I'll go over the background and the major milestones, in particular for the new board members that were not part of developing the resolution that happened in 22-23 that the board developed to guide the spending of the $30 million in the endowment fund. We'll go over the compliance and the amended board resolution, in particular emphasizing those things that are required to be presented in your annual report. So you will see what is required, and then we'll talk about what we've done. The next, the third bullet up there, we'll talk about the scholarships and the emergency fund awarding process, how financial aid has gone through selecting, advertising, and selecting the scholarship awardees. And then we'll talk a little bit about the emergency fund awarding process that is currently being developed. Then we'll look at the investment strategy as approved by the Board of Trustees in April of this year. That investment strategy was recommended by Hilltop Securities and then approved by the Executive Committee, then brought before the board for your approval. Then we'll talk about the annual report for fiscal year 24-25, and that'll be when Mr. Harris will jump in and look at the investments that were made in August. He'll go through in detail what was purchased, and he'll talk about some of the internal controls surrounding those purchases and how they agree with our Public Funds Investment Act and the guidance that you all have given us through the investment policy strategy, how what we purchased complies with the investment strategy. Then we'll look at the proposed budget for fiscal year 25-26. So let's look at the background and major milestones surrounding the endowment fund. In May of 2021, a $30 million gift was made to the college from Mackenzie Scott and Dan Hewitt through the National Philanthropic Fund. So we received $30 million on May 6th of 2021. And between that date and the date that the resolution was approved, the corpus plus accrued interest was invested in taxable between May 2021 and August 2023. The college accumulated $1,475,000 in interest from the time we received the money to the time that the resolution was approved. Then on August the 30th, it was a creation of the Student Success Endowment Fund by the Board of Trustees through board resolution. Now the board, as many of you all remember, you all spent a lot of time developing that resolution and resulted in a very clear directive on what we can spend and how we can spend it. So that resolution now is our guiding instrument going forward. And so on July the 24th, approval of Hilltop Securities Asset Management as our investment advisor was approved by the board. So that's to guide us on how we're going to invest this money and produce predictable revenue stream, which will result in scholarship funds available going forward for the next 7 years. So Mr. Harris will review those actual purchases a little bit later on. Also, at that time when Hilltop Securities was approved, we took a good hard look at our investment policy, and we tweaked it a little bit to allow us to do the investment strategy as recommended. One of the things we did for the endowment fund, we pushed it out to 7 years. We allowed investments to go out 7 years, provided that they're safe and within the confines of the Public Funds Investment Act, and more importantly, with our investment policy. So we tweaked it that way, and so we set up the stage for investing going forward. After that, in fall of 2024, the Financial Aid Office was very busy going through announcing the first cohort of eligible students to be approved for scholarships. And they did that, and the scholarship awardees were approved by the Executive Committee. On April 30th, 2025, that's when the investment policy strategy was approved by the Board of Trustees. That's a milestone as well. On May 28th, 2025, we recommended some changes to the resolution that would allow more efficiency and allowed the committee to react to the market. So we changed some wording in there as a result of the endowment audit starting. We changed the use of the word, we changed the wording on interest may be allocated as opposed to used within the first year, which allowed us to carry interest forward for future years as we awarded scholarships. Also, we changed the wording to allow the executive committee, in particular, the investment officers, to react to the market and make investments, as opposed to bringing back a recommendation, waiting a month for the board to approve a recommendation. So you all allowed us the flexibility with the caveat that we come back and report to you. So what we're doing now is we're coming back to report to you on what you allowed us to do through the resolution to make investments, with the caveat that we bring them back to you to share with you what we've done. So some of the changes that were made really allowed us to operate immediately and react to the market. And then on August the 27th, you all received the results of the external audit by Peña Briones McDaniel on the administration's compliance, the executive committee's compliance to the resolution parameters. So you all received the audit results from Peña Briones. And then on August 2025, implementation of the investment strategy by investment officers with laddered investments. We actually went out and purchased, beginning on August the 18th, the securities necessary to invest the $30 million corpus that we have on hand. So that's the background and some of the major milestones from 2021 through August 2025. There are a lot of other things that occurred within there, a lot of meetings by the committee, many other things that happened during that time, but these are the major items during that time period. So, let's see. So let's talk about the executive committee. So the executive committee was recommended by Dr. Serrata to the board, and the board approved the composition of the executive committee. So I am the chair of the executive committee, and Dr. Amaya is on there as well. So he brings expertise in the student area as well as in the financial aid area. So he serves as the vice chair of the executive committee. And then we have Ms. Josette Shaughnessy, advisor to the VP and secretary. She takes meticulous meeting minutes as usual. So wherever she is at the time in this world, she joins us through Teams and records the minutes and then documents that for us to understand what we suggested and what we're supposed to be doing. We have that documented. And then we have Ms. Ines Lopez, who serves a dual role. In addition to being a member of the executive committee, she is also the chair of the scholarship selection committee. So she serves a very important role to participate in the executive committee and then takes that information back and communicates it to the scholarship selection committee, which we'll go through in just a little bit. Then we have Dr. Carrie Moe, which also serves a very important role in there because she listens and then she markets and advertises for the steps that need to be advertised. In addition to that, she serves a very important role because she is also the college's chair of the Greater Texas Foundation Grant. In that role, in the Greater Texas Foundation Grant, one of their major steps is to identify emergency funding criteria, eligibility. So they have been working hard at developing those rules. They have done that, so that serves as we move forward with emergency funding distributions. She brings that criteria to the committee. And Dr. Smith, Dr. Stephen Smith, obviously say no more. He's a great resource for the instructional side. Everything instruction, he's the expert. And also he is very in tune with House Bill 8 reporting criteria, so he is able to identify populations that we may have missed and bring that expertise in the form of a discussion and contributions during the executive committee discussions. And then Ms. Ana Zuniga, everything finance. She contributes greatly with budgets and pro forma statements and allocations, so she keeps us well informed on anything finance. So now let's look at some of the Student Success Endowment Fund Executive Committee meetings that we had. So you can see the committee has been very busy. These are some of the meetings that we had during the year. And so, along with Dr. Serrata, who participates in these meetings as well and provides great leadership and ideas. So we, on September 18th, 2024, approved the first cohort of students for scholarships that were brought forward by Ines Lopez from the Student Scholarship Committee. And on December the 6th, we entertained discussions on the process for awarding emergency aid. These were the first discussions on who should receive aid and what is the criteria. So the committee met and deliberated and received a presentation on some things we may want to consider. That's where Dr. Carrie Moe jumped in about the Greater Texas Foundation criteria, and then we had a good discussion. So on January 31st, the committee approved the investment strategy proposed by Hilltop Securities, which ultimately was brought forward to the board for approval. On March the 7th, we approved the inclusion of early college high school P-TECH students for scholarship funding. This shows the flexibility that having this pot of money provides. So Dr. Serrata and Dr. Amaya brought forward a proposal that any early college high school students that have accumulated up to 45 semester credit hours after they graduate from high school, that it makes sense to fund them for 15 more hours so they can graduate from the college. That was a great, very, very good idea of how to use the scholarship money, and shows the flexibility of having this pot of money. In addition to the regular awards that are made, this was a great idea. We hope and we think that going forward in the future, any ideas for getting students across the finish line that are brought forward to the committee, it allows us that flexibility. So July 22nd, 2025, there was a discussion about allocating 10% of the emergency funds. Remember that the emergency funds is a 9% allocation of interest. Taking 10% of that 9% and dedicating it to the Tejano Mercado. So that was brought before the committee for consideration, and they thought that was a good idea. A motion was made, and it carried that a 10% allocation of emergency funds will be allocated to the Tejano Mercado. Next, on August the 11th, 2025, we approved the allocation of interest earned prior to the creation of the resolution. That was the $1.475 million that accumulated from May of 2021 through August of 2023 that Rene Peña discussed during his presentation of the audit. There was a motion on the board agenda, and it carried to allocate it according to the allocation that the board had in the resolution. So that was approved. So as you can see, the committee has been very busy along with Dr. Serrata. Some of these decisions, we had to bring in legal counsel for advice on amending the investment policy. So kudos to Scott Hulse, in particular, Mr. Ortega, who was responsive to meeting with us and giving us guidance on the resolution. We very much appreciate that. Very much a team effort. We incorporate Hilltop Securities, our legal counsel, and external audits. So we have outside expertise that is providing us very good guidance to stay within the parameters of our investment policy and the laws on what we can and cannot do. So then we get to some of the resolution parameters that we have to comply with. So it says the executive committee shall have authority to create and direct the investment strategy for the Student Success Endowment Fund with the guidance of investment advisors, which shall be dependent on other invested funds of the, which shall be independent of other invested funds of the college, subject to the approval of the Board of Trustees. So we have to comply with your investment strategy that you all approved, is what this is saying. We can pull the trigger, but we have to comply with the investment policy that you all approved in April of 2025. That's the important takeaway from this. So investment strategy was presented by Hilltop Securities and approved by the Board of Trustees on April 30th, 2025. That has already occurred. Then the investment strategy was carried out in August of 2025. So the investment officers for the district, our comptroller, Ms. Gloria De Leon, and our AVP of Budget and Financial Services, Ms. Ana Zuniga, on August the 18th, they started investing, and by the end of August, they invested the entire $30 million, but we'll show you how that happened in a lot more detail shortly. In particular, Mr. Matt Harris, who is right there, will be presenting that for you in detail. One of the other board resolution parameters speaks to investments. So here, investment officers of El Paso Community shall be responsible for all financial transactions involving the Student Success Endowment Fund, including but not limited to withdrawals, transfers, investments, commitments, all the transactions in accordance with the investment strategy. That's very important here. We have to comply with the investment strategy that you all approved on April 30th. We're not doing this blindly. We're doing this with the board's direction to us through the investment strategy, with a report to be provided to the executive committee at the end of each academic year. So with regards to this parameter, the investment officers have invested the funds and in compliance with the investment strategy presented by Hilltop Securities and approved by the Board of Trustees in April of 2025. We're going to show you that a little bit more detailed in just a little bit. And also to comply with the resolution, a report was provided to the Executive Committee on September 12th, 2025 of all those investments that occurred. So the investment officers complied with the requirement to present to the Executive Committee on September 12th. And so we showed them in very detailed manner what has been purchased and how it complies with the investment strategy and our investment policy as well. I'd like to go back to, let's see, that's not back. So, that does not conclude the presentation. That only, so, okay. I'll get there eventually. One of the parameters that I want to talk about, one of the main parameters I want to talk about is the board was very insistent on us never spending the corpus. So the board emphasized that we will never touch the corpus. And I want to emphasize that we have not done that. We've complied with the resolution. And this slide here is a very loud message to us, and we're just letting the board know we heard you, and we have not touched the corpus. One of the other main requirements of the board resolution is that only interest can be spent, as a reminder, and that 90% of the interest accrued every year shall be used or allocated for scholarships at the discretion of the executive committee. And then 9% of interest accrued every fiscal year shall be used for emergency related needs, and 1% of the interest shall go every year, shall be allocated to the corpus. So I wanted to come back to this slide. I think I went over it pretty quick, or I went past it actually, which is quick. So we talked about the committee, and then we talked about the committee meetings, and then we jumped to some of the resolution parameters. We talked about the investment strategy here, that we've already carried that out in August. And so we moved to who the investment officers are, and that a report was provided to the committee. So next, we come to another requirement of the resolution, which is what we're supposed to report to you. In the resolution, these items are delineated in there. So we're supposed to provide you a listing of the individual securities as of August 31st, talk about additions and changes to the market value during the period, and then the listing of securities by maturity date, the fully accrued interest for the reporting period, and the average weighted yield to maturity of the portfolio as compared to our benchmark. So Mr. Harris is going to cover how we comply with this requirement. I would say on the last bullet here, statement of compliance of EPCC's investment portfolio. When we present to you the August financial statements, we always present a summary of investments, and we have a statement following that listing of investments signed by the investment officers, Ms. De Leon, Ms. Zuniga, and myself, attesting to our compliance with investing. You're not going to see that today, but you'll see it in our August financials when we present those to you after we close our fiscal year, which we're working on right now. So then we're going to talk about now the Scholarship Selection Committee. So this committee is chaired by Ms. Lopez, who is also in the audience somewhere. Where are you, Ines? There you are. Ms. Lopez does a great job of chairing that committee. And so they do a lot of work to advertise, find recipients, and then cull through the information and make sure that those students comply with the program criteria. So let's talk about that for a little bit. So in July 2025, to beef up the area and provide good support to make sure we're monitoring awardees as they are awarded, and then in subsequent semesters that they comply. So they submitted a request for additional help in that area, and thanks to the board, that was approved. I believe that they are still filling that position. They're working on filling that position, but that's going to help monitor and award funds that are made available through the endowment fund. On July 29th, 2025, they opened up the online application for students to apply, and then Dr. Mo did marketing for that. In addition, flyers were created, and they went to social media and texted messages to students. A lot of work was done there. So that was opened on the 29th. It closed on August the 29th, 1 month later. The application process closed. In August, a determination of enrollment and eligibility was performed through an automated process to determine who's going to be awarded. Then also in August, they notified the committee of the opening of the 25-26 application process and received approval from the committee to proceed with awards via email. They identified 714 student applications that were received, and of those, they found, after reviewing them, that only 196 met the eligibility criteria, and those were awarded. So this is who serves on the Scholarship Selection Committee. Ms. Ines Lopez is the chair of that committee, and as I said, she also serves on the executive committee. And we have Michael Telamantes, Director of Recruitment, Mr. Blaine Primizic, AVP President, Vice President and Workforce of Continuing Education, Shannon Valles, Philosophy Professor, Adriana Flores Vallaverde, Counselor, and Ms. Mirela Pacias, Early Alert Academic Advisor. So they have a pretty good representation of the college and people that are familiar with students represented here. We have faculty, we have administration, and we have recruiting. So we have a very good composition of that committee. And so this is the eligibility criteria that that committee has to use to select awardees. So the Student Success Endowment Scholarship is open to students who have completed the admissions process at EPCC and are eligible for in-state tuition. Students complete the FAFSA and TASFA each year and must complete the verification process. The Student Success Endowment Scholarship will cover 8 hours in-state tuition and mandatory fees per semester for up to 6 consecutive semesters. So it's built that way to encourage graduation and to encourage persistence over a 2-year period. So any students are responsible for any additional costs. Students must continually be enrolled in each fall and spring semester to remain eligible. And summer is optional but recommended to facilitate completion of the degree plan. Students must maintain satisfactory academic progress as determined by the Financial Aid Office at the end of each semester to maintain the scholarship. This generally means maintaining a minimum GPA of 2.0 and passing a minimum of 67% of hours attempted. These are all the things the committee has to review, financial aid has to review, so it's a lot of work that they have to do. In addition, the Student Success Endowment Scholarship will only pay for classes included in the program of study. This is very important here because if they take classes outside of there, they don't fund it through the scholarship. Students are responsible for the cost of classes that are not part of their selected program of study. The scholarship will pay for non-credit workforce programs offered through continuing education that lead to a technical certification, such as healthcare programs, for a maximum scholarship equivalent to the cost of 8 semester credit hours. This is an important role that AVP Primizic plays in serving on the committee because he's the expert on these kinds of things, so he can provide guidance to the selection committee. So that was a very good appointment for him to serve on this committee, well thought out. The Student Success Endowment Scholarship will not pay for 3P charges, books, course materials, supplies, or uniforms. This is something else that the financial aid area has to monitor. Students are required to give EPCC permission to send notifications and messages related to Student Success Endowment Scholarship. So I wanted to emphasize that this is the eligibility criteria, but not only that, at the end of every semester, financial aid comes back and monitors compliance for this. So I emphasize that because you're going to see that they identify eligible students, but as the semesters go by, that number goes down. Because financial aid is identifying maybe some that drop beneath the 2.0 grade point level, that took courses outside of their major, that didn't take continuous fall and spring attendance. So that's a lot of work that financial aid has to do to come back and monitor compliance with awarding these funds. So you're going to see the numbers for the fall 2024 cohort that were awarded, but you're going to see that number start high and go down to 23 students. So I'm getting ahead of your question, why they awarded so many and they came down. So I wanted to emphasize, while we're on this slide, what happens later. what happens later. So here we go. For the FY24 cohort, they awarded 134 students in the fall, and then in the spring, there were 77 students remained after they analyzed the fall number of students. And so by the fall of 2025, only 23 students remained in that first cohort. So in addition, 11 dual credit students were awarded in the summer of 2025. That is that extra initiative that Dr. Serrata and Dr. Amaya identified for P-TECH students, showing the flexibility of funding. In addition to the regular scholarships, they identified another population that made really good sense to bring across the finish line. And by bringing them across the finish line, the college gets extra funding because if they graduate, we get funding for those that graduate. For those that complete so many hours, we get funding for that. So that was really a very good move to do that. So now we look at the FY25 cohort. So here you see that during this last application period, they've identified 714 applications that were received, and then 121 Pell eligible students, which met all eligibility criteria and are enrolled for fall of 2025. In addition, 75 students that had the FAFSA but were not eligible for Pell, so they identified those eligible for this program. And 17 students ineligible with no FAFSA on file, 92 ineligible due to unsatisfactory academic progress. A total of 196 students were awarded $1,088 for the fall semester. So just keep in mind that going forward, that number is going to go down. So as we look at the budget at the very end, we've segregated funds to cover all of these, but those funds we segregated, we won't need all of them because this number, through experience, through what happened in FY24, we know that that number is going to go down. In addition, addressing the emergency funding awarding process that is allowed, that's the 9% that's set aside for emergency fund awarding. The approved by the Executive Committee in January 2025 was for the Director of Student Leadership, Ms. Nadia Rivas, to handle the emergency funding going forward. She presented to the committee, and she identified a good process for her office handling the emergency funding. The Executive Committee discussed what she was proposing and voted to allow the Department of Student Leadership to handle the emergency funding. Also, criteria was developed by the Greater Texas Foundation grant. I talked about that Dr. Carrie Moe is handling that grant, and they have been very active with the Greater Texas Foundation as a state grant that allows addressing emergency funding for students. So we're taking the criteria that's been developed by the Texas Foundation Grant Committee, and we're going to use that to award emergency aid to EPCC students. So in addition, a request was made for emergency funds to be allocated to the Tejano Mercado. 10% of the annual emergency funding to go to the Tejano Mercado. And since it's helping students that are also in need, that was approved by the Executive Committee on July 22nd, 2025. And so there currently is a website available for students to view the emergency aid that is available from the Student Success Fund. So the criteria for the emergency fund, they must be enrolled in EPCC credit classes, at least 6 credit hours. Emergency assistance should not be used for expected expenses such as tuition or related fees. A student must be 18 years of age or older and have graduated from high school or equivalent. They may be required to provide proof of documentation of the emergency, such as a bill, a photo of emergency expense that they're requesting to be covered. And the students are eligible to request assistance once per semester, not to exceed $500 per calendar year. Priority will be given to first-time student requests. So that is the emergency fund criteria that's been developed. So I'm going to jump to the investment strategy that was approved by the board in April. So this is the investment strategy that talks about how the $30 million in corpus will be invested, and also points out that funds must be kept liquid in investment pools to address immediate scholarship needs. So as we look at this, you look at the first bullet. It talks about the position of the endowment portfolio to generate approximately $1.3 million in annual assistance. So you're going to see later the projected revenue as a result of the investments. Those projected revenues for the fixed investments, along with what we have in tax pool, we expect to meet the $1.3 million in annual assistance. The second bullet, we will retain $1.5 million. Well, we have $4 million right now in the second bullet in investment pools. We have $4 million at the moment. We have more than what the investment strategy calls for. Recall that we did this back in April 30th of 2025. Interest rates were different at that time. So though this projection here, 1.3 million, was based upon the economic conditions back on April 30th. At that time, it would have generated 1.3 million in fixed investments. The market has changed to now, as we well know, the Fed has cut rates, right? And so the market is always moving. But still, what we've locked in, you're going to see, is going to meet our needs for awarding scholarships. So the third bullet there talks about investments in the 6 to 7 year range to invest $12 million. Next bullet, in the 5 to 6 range, 12 million. That's 24 million of the corpus that's going to be pushed out long term. You'll see those investments shortly. In the next bullet, it talks about in the shorter range of 4 to 5 years term, $3 million with blocks of 1 million in maturity in the 4 to 5 year range, and then purchase 3 million in the 1 million range to mature in 3 to 4 years. So when you add the 12, 12, 3, and 3, that's the $30 million of the corpus. So you're going to see shortly how that is reflected in our actual investments. And that part of the presentation on our actual investments will be covered by Matt Harris, Senior Vice President at Hilltop Securities. So let's talk about what's happened this year in terms of interest earned. For the year just ended, we've earned $1,515,764. That is, that along with what we have, cumulative interest, we've earned $4.7 million. That distribution will be allocated 90% to the Student Scholarship Fund. $1.3 million will go to the Student Scholarship Fund. $136,000 or 9% of that interest earning will go to emergency needs, and 1% will be added back to the corpus for growth, $15,158. So when we look at the cumulative amounts, we've earned $4.7 million. And so 4.2 has been dedicated to 90% or 4.2 million for the Student Scholarship Fund, 9% for student emergency needs, cumulative 423,000, and 47,000 has been added back to the corpus for the growth of the corpus to grow to $30,047,000. So that is what has happened so far this year with respect to interest earnings. Are there any questions up to this point of the presentation before I move it to going through the detailed investments that were purchased?
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, you mentioned that you tweaked it, some of the investments to 7 years.
Yes, sir.
Just in general, do we have a guideline that it has to be at least X number of years, but it can be no more than Y number of years? So you have broad guide rails?
Yes, sir. That's a great question. So back when we approved Hilltop Securities, we also looked at our investment policy. And at that time, our investment policy, Mr. Uxer, allowed us to go out 2 years. So given the investment proposal long-term, we changed our investment policy for the endowment fund to allow us to go out to 7 years. So those are the guardrails that we have, allowing the maximum maturities.
So when we went to 7, that was the maximum that the
Yes, sir.
current rules, okay.
Yes, sir.
allow.
Those are the guardrails for the endowment fund
Okay.
only.
Another thing, he mentioned that we'll take some of the money. I don't remember exactly where it came in the deal, but we'll award a scholarship to allow people to complete, and you said like the last 15 hours. Dr. Strada, is that really the last dollar concept?
It's a great way to think of it, Mr. Uxer. It's actually not the last dollar. It's really an effort, because many of these students will qualify for aid. It's an effort to retain them, to get them to come to the institution, complete the degree prior to moving on to transfer. And so theoretically, I guess you could think of it as the last dollar, since it's their last 15 hours.
Yeah.
In the financial aid world, the last dollar would be similar to what institutions do with the Promise Program. That would be considered the last dollar.
Okay. And then you mentioned that there's an allocation to the Tejano Mercado, okay? Where's it kept?
So that funding will be moved to...
No, where is the Mercado kept, the physical location?
Oh, I'll let Dr. Amaya address the Tejano Mercados.
Okay, when we do that, what I'm really curious about is kept, the last time that I really kept it was primarily at Valle Verde, and all the other 4 campuses really didn't benefit from it. Can you tell me that, in fact, it's functional to an equitable basis for all the campuses?
It's not at all campuses,
Okay,
Mr. Uxer,
so
but
then when we have money allocated to this program, don't you think that would be a good purpose for it?
yes, and we put in some requests to expand to other campuses as well. We've also been working with other partners like El Pasoans Fighting Hunger and holding grocery pickups at all the campuses.
Yeah, okay, so, okay, I just think that, it's, 8 years ago, I looked at one of the campuses, and their food allocation was a box in one of the secretary's offices, and it seems like to me, if we recognize and we have policies and we have requests and we're gonna, and this is that, and it still hadn't happened, because Valle Verde has it, and we really haven't got around to making it equitable. I don't know what, it's gonna be expensive, not only in personnel, but in facilities and everything else. But as long as we have that, we better take care of the people instead of taking care of the facilities and the organization.
Sure, of course, we're working towards that.
When do you have a timeline for that then?
I'd have to get back to you on that, yes.
Yeah,
But we are
okay.
working on staffing up those other campuses too.
Let's get a program, or somebody says, hey, we can't, and you guys need to do something to help us or something, but let's get it off the ground.
Yes, sir.
I have a quick question, going back to our Student Success Endowment, if that's okay?
Going back to what?
To the Student Success Endowment,
Yes, sir.
do we, and I apologize if I missed it, but do we offer probationary semester funding tied to tutoring or advising? If at the end of the semester, they're at, say, 1.9 GPA, do we say you have one more probationary semester? Is that something that,
I do not believe that there is a probationary period for that. I think financial aid administrates very strictly to the rule. So, but if I am incorrect, please clarify my understanding, that we stay very right on what the eligibility requirement is.
That's correct. We stick to students who are in satisfactory academic progress. So they are eligible for aid. So part of that is for them to be in good academic standing, good financial standing, able to move forward.
and do they have an appeals process, say, for some sort of emergency, family crisis,
Oh,
illness?
yes.
Okay.
We have an appeals process for the financial aid process. We don't have an appeals process for the scholarship.
Not specifically for the scholarship?
Correct.
Okay,
But
so
we,
if
but
they don't
they
meet
do,
the criteria, then by the end of the semester, or next semester, they don't?
that's right, they wouldn't qualify the following semester. And and they are able to, if they fall out of compliance, because they've all applied for FAFSA and say they're getting some aid, they're able to appeal that decision the following semester.
Gotcha. And we're clearly communicating upfront that keeping the scholarship requires ongoing compliance. We obviously do a good job at communicating and marketing the scholarship with 714 applicants. But are we doing how are we communicating that?
Yes, ma'am. We share the requirements for remaining in compliance with the scholarship with all the awardees.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So next, I'd like to introduce Mr. Matt Harris. He's Senior Vice President with Hilltop Securities Asset Management. And so he's going to be covering the next 4 slides on the actual investments that have been made.
Thank you, Mr. Flores, and excuse me. Again, thank you, Mr. Flores, and good evening to the board. It is a pleasure to be here this evening, and excited to present the investment activity we've done recently for the community college. First off, I'd like to just provide a quick introduction to our organization. I'm Matt Harris with Hilltop Securities, specifically Hilltop Securities Asset Management. Our group provides a turnkey solution for providing fixed income investments for public entities. Our team is based out of Austin. We have a team of traders and reporting staff, and myself, Scott McIntyre, and Greg Warner are the senior portfolio advisors. I'd like to talk briefly about the Fed. As we know, the Federal Reserve controls short-term interest rates, specifically the Federal Open Market Committee. What we're seeing right now is the path of lower interest rates, and the Fed is in a challenging situation. The Federal Reserve has a dual mandate. What that means is they need to be mindful of inflation, of course, as well as the employment, the labor market. And what we've seen recently is that inflation has indeed picked up recently, and the job market is weakening. So that creates a challenging backdrop for the Fed, but they have opted to lower interest rates recently, and expectations are for more interest rate cuts into this year and into the coming years. They will remain data dependent, so they'll be looking at measures such as inflation, employment, and the overall growth of the economy going forward. The bond market agrees with this outlook, and they're pricing in further cuts, which I'll talk about more in a moment. Our underlying strategy right now, given the face of lower interest rates, is to extend and lock in yield. We have a concept called duration when we think about the investment portfolio, and that's what we're doing right now. We're trying to lock in yield in the face of falling interest rates. Okay, let's look at the investments we've made recently. This is going to be a maturity distribution. What you'll see here is a graph illustrating day 1, which is going to be our overnight investments. That's going to be in the local government investment pools. Then you'll see the second bucket is going to be years 2 and 3. Third is going to be 3 through 5. And the last bucket will be investments made beyond 5 years. You can see the breakout in par value. That's the principal amount invested in those particular maturity buckets. And you'll also see the book value, which is in relation to the trading aspect to where we buy those securities. We're not really going to focus on market value. When we buy these securities, we're buying them in a hold to maturity outlook, but we are going to report and understand what that means when it comes to interest rates and that dynamic. Of course, yield is important. The current portfolio yield we have here is 3.95%. You'll see that on the far right-hand side. And then we have days to maturity, which is the duration of the portfolio. This, you can see we've extended those cash flows to lock in those yields, again, in the face of falling interest rates. Here's a more detailed breakdown of the securities we purchased. Each day, we're going out and looking into the market and buying these treasury securities. You'll notice there's different colors here. These are simply notifying us what maturity buckets we just previewed a moment ago. So the yellow is going to be the short time bucket between the 2 to 3 years. Then we, of course, have the 3 to 5, the 5, and beyond. You can see these are mostly treasury securities. That's what we believe is the best relative value given this investment strategy. Each day we go out and look at other securities, and the risk-reward relationship was not sufficient to make those investments. I am also happy to report, if we were to build a portfolio such as this today, interest rates have fallen approximately 10 to 15 basis points since we've made those transactions. For example, I made a note here, the 2-year treasury yield is currently 3.6%, and the 5-year is 3.72, and you can see most of those investments are above those levels according to the proper maturity. This is going to be a breakdown of the income projected of those treasury securities as well as the investment pools. You can see as you go out through each fiscal year, that number remains the same for the first few years, and then it does begin to decline. But we are making a considerable assumption here that we're not reinvesting those maturities that start to come in 2028 and beyond. So there's a lot of uncertainty out there as far as cash flow projections with interest rates, but for now we can expect to receive this over the coming years as we've locked in that security, those interest rates on the securities. Finally here, I'd like to talk a little bit about some internal controls we provide for the community college. Whenever we buy securities, we enact a process called delivery versus payment. DVP essentially tells us that we will never take on a security, purchase a security without receiving it simultaneously. When you buy and sell securities, this is the most common way to do that. We also have a safekeeping agreement that is done through Wells Fargo. The securities are in custody of EPCC, not anyone else, and so that's important from an internal control standpoint. From a trading aspect, we're in the market every day. We go in and look at our Bloombergs and look at markets, and if there's any fluctuation or significant changes to the market, we're working with Mr. Flores and his team to make sure he's aware of those changes. My colleague, Andrea Cash, is your assigned trader. When she goes out to purchase these securities, we go out to our approved broker dealers and only purchase those entities. We also acquire 3 quotes given any security we purchase during that time. I'd also like to address this is a non-discretionary relationship. What that means is when we are making these transactions, these are being done to the discretion of Mr. Flores. Any transaction we suggest or recommend has to be approved by the community college before that's done. We also, as I mentioned, have a approved broker-dealer list. This is available at any point in time you'd like to see that, and we often update that, and we'll look at our policy and different parameters associated with those broker-dealers. Those trades are processed all throughout Wells Fargo, so we have reporting as well as compliant and regulatory matters taken care of to that regard. And then finally, when we invest, we're really thinking about safety, liquidity, and yield for these securities, and that's why we purchase treasury securities, and we've come up with the investment strategy we've done recently. So with that concludes my section of the presentation, and with that, I'll hand it back over to Mr. Flores, unless there's any questions, which I'd be happy to take. Yes, sir.
Real quick, I understand that our corpus is 30 million, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if I look at this last slide, the cumulative amount, that represents the corpus, does it not?
This is the interest income off of the corpus, the funds.
The cumulative amount, then, what,
The cumulative amount includes the liquidity of 4.3 million in addition to the 30 million corpus. If you're looking at,
okay, well, that doesn't even add up to 30 million. That
Well,
cumulative amount.
it adds up to more than 30. It adds up to 34 million. If you look in the par value column, the grand total on the blue row says summary, 34,388,809.10.
Okay, fine. Let's go back to one other one then. Can you go back to the first slide?
Yes, sir.
Looking at this, the bar chart, yeah, it looks to me that you have from day one, and I understand years 2 through years 5, so that's a 2 to 7 type frame we were talking about, but you have day one. Is there something, do we have something that has investment of less than 2 years on here? I mean, or do I not understand this chart?
You're correct, Mr. Uxer. The groupings of 2 to 3 years, 3 to 5, and years 5 plus, those are 3 groupings. The investment
They fall
strategy
within the 2 to
presented to
7,
you had
yeah.
4 groupings, and that might be the disconnect.
I don't understand what day one means then.
Day one is the liquidity. So
Okay.
that is what we fund scholarships with, and that's the accumulated interest income that we have.
Yes, sir, and I'll address that as well. You can see on the detailed security breakdown, the securities, treasuries, as I mentioned, and at the top, you'll see the Tex Pool and Tex Prime accounts. These are local government investment pools, money market mutual funds, basically, with low-cost structures. And currently, they're offering a yield of 4.30 on this report, but that interest rate has fallen to approximately 4.15 with the Fed.
Yeah, okay, can you go to the last slide, please?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Flores, back one, please. Mr. Flores, would you provide me with a copy of that slide, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So I only have one question for Mr. Harris. Can you keep rates above 4% going forward? So then we get to the budget that is proposed for fiscal year 25-26. And here you see a little bit of a roll forward from the current year, rolling forward projections to next year, which become the basis for the budget. So what we see here is that we're starting the year with a fund balance of $34.4 million. We expect to earn $1,289,740 in revenue projected. And so now we look at the uses, which are the expenditures. And so we are projecting that for the current cohort for FY24, we're going to need $75,072 to fund the FY24 cohort. Those are the 23 students that we talked about. And so as we come down under scholarships cohort 2, FY25-26 for the 196 students, that has a value projected of $639,744, funding them at $1,088 for 8 credit hours. So if all of those students go through the semesters and complete for a 2-year period, that's how much we will spend. But that is going to be very unlikely, as financial aid does eligibility reviews at the end of each semester. But we have to plan for the instance where they go all the way through, so we can set aside the money for that. And so the second year of funding the cohort number 2 will have the same cost if that same population completes the second year. All told, for cohort number 2, we project $1,279,488 that we need to set aside to cover that cohort. So we talked about setting aside funding for the Tejano Mercado. This is only an estimate of $15,000. We don't know what that requirement is going to be yet. That is only an estimate that we have in here. And then for emergency assistance, that is an estimate as well, $70,000 that we project might be needed for emergency assistance. All told, expenditures total is projected at $1,439,560. So when we subtract the projected expenditures of $1.4 million from projected revenues of $1.2 million, we show a decline of $149,820. But we have shown what happens with the students as they go through the semesters, not meeting eligibility, and for one reason or other, they're going to fall off. We feel very comfortable with that revenue projection, given that the investments that were made by the district are going to be held to maturity. We're going to receive that funding for the first year of $1,136,000, because we don't plan to cash any investments. We're going to hold to maturity. And so we feel confident in the $1,136,000 estimate. The $153,000 for the text pool, well, that depends on the economy, what the Fed does. They're signaling one more 25 basis point cut, but who knows what happens. The economy reacts to the world, and we don't know what that's going to do, but we project $153,490. All told, with this scenario, we project a decrease of $149,000, resulting in an ending fund balance at the end of this coming year of $34,320,307. That is the projected budget for the Student Success Endowment Fund. Are there any questions related to the budget that we project?
Good job.
I don't have any questions related to the budget. My only question is, do we have any requirement to report to anybody else other than this board? Like to the
Yes,
funding entity?
we do. We have, so one of the consequences of changing our investment method, we have typically done local government investment pools, text pool. That's the category, local government investment. We have typically done those kind of investment pools for investments. Those investment pools have a weighted average maturity of about 45 to 60 days. They're very short term. When you look at the composition of their portfolio, they're basically money market accounts. We show those as cash on our financial statements when the auditors do that. Now, because we're doing long-term investments, there's two GASBs that come into play for us. Those GASBs require us to book long-term gains and short-term and long-term gains or long-term losses. Recall that on the report that Mr. Harris showed you, there was a column on market value. Their system, these investments are in a system called Clearwater, which our general accounting now populates. So that database shows us the market value. At the end of our accounting period, we're going to see what the market value of these investments are. So if we're showing a gain, we're going to have to book a gain to our financial statements now. It is a book entry only, because as we've mentioned several times, we hold to maturity. We're not going to cash anything, because then you run the risk of a gain or a loss. But if there's a loss, a paper loss at the end of our fiscal year, we book a paper loss only. So that is a requirement of two GASBs that now we have to comply with, GASB 71 and GASB 32, that talk about fair value recording, I forgot the last word, valuation measurement. So we're going to have to comply with the GASBs on our financial statements, Dr. Graham. But there isn't any other reporting that we do. We also have a requirement to report to the state auditor's office at the end of each fiscal year. There's an investment report that we do to the state auditor, right, Anna? And we have that requirement to report to the state auditor. Any other investment reporting, the only other reporting that we're mandated to do is to you all via this report every year. We'll bring it back, we'll report to you what happened. That is a mandate from our board. And those are the three things that I can think of. Anna, is there anything else that I missed? I got the thumbs up, so sounds like something.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Sure.
Great job, thank you.
So, we're almost done. We're almost done. Unless you stop me, Mr. Haggard.
Now, go ahead, go
Okay.
ahead. Show me we're gonna make more money.
We are. So, objectives going forward, we're gonna continue monitoring the investment strategy with the advice from Hilltop Securities. They're gonna look at market. They're gonna see if our investment strategy still is applicable. They brought one forward for the board. If they see that we need to change our investment strategy, we will bring it back to the board, explain it, discuss it, and present it to you before we change anything. We're gonna complete another audit for next year with Mr. Peña, so we're gonna do an agreement for that. We're gonna monitor the progress of the FY25 cohort. Financial aid has a lot of work to do in that regard, but they do a great job with monitoring that. And then we're gonna refine the scholarship awarding process further in preparation for 26-27. We're gonna implement the emergency funding awarding process after hiring a manager. The student leadership area led by Ms. Nadia Rivas, who I saw in the audience as well. There she is going to take over the emergency funding process. Well, they're still hiring a manager, so it hasn't moved to that area yet. We're going to refine our revenue projections, considering the reinvestment of maturities. So when an investment matures in 3 years, it's going to go back into earning interest. We didn't factor that, Mr. Haggerty, in here, so that's going to be more revenue. That's the answer to your more revenue. But we're learning as we go. We're going to refine our projections going forward. This is the first cut we take at this process. So we're going to continue to refine that. And then we're going to continue to strategize on other potential scholarship recipient populations. You saw where Dr. Serrata and Dr. Maya targeted the group of dual credit students that were close to the finish line. They came back to the committee, identified that population. We talked about it's a great effort. So we're going to see if there's any potential other recipient populations that this funding can address. This is a great opportunity and great flexibility for the college. So on behalf of the executive committee and Dr. Serrata and Mr. Harris, I would like to thank you for your attention. And if you have no further questions, as Josette would say, I'll bid you adieu, I guess.
Give my best.
Thank you.
Item 1.7.2, optional presentations will be made by the presidents of the Classified Staff Association, the Professional Staff Association, the Faculty Association, and the Student Government Association.
Good afternoon, Board of Trustees, Dr. Serrata, Cabinet members, President, and cyber audience. On behalf of the Professional Staff Association, I would like to extend our sincere appreciation to the Board and Dr. Serrata for the recent approval of the 3% salary increasement and the 6% salary table adjustment. These adjustments and the salary increases are a great value and will provide meaningful support to the employees navigating current financial challenges. I am also pleased to introduce our newly elected 2025-27 PSA officers. Officers present, please stand when your name is called. Treasurer Lara Lopez, Senior Accountant. PSA President, myself, Grace Arives, Academic Advisor. I would like to also name the current 2024-25 officers whose term will end September of 2026. VP President Marta Arvicio, Assistant Director Enrollment Management. Secretary Teresa Reyes Fernandez, Research Associate. Okay. I would like to also thank the PSA members who participated in the election process and who took time to cast their votes. Thank you, and thank you for your time.
Good evening, Chair Haggerty, members of the board, President Serrata, staff, and guests. My name is Laura Gaither, and I'm president of the Classified Staff Association. I'd like to share a few updates and upcoming events with you. Starting this month, we'll be holding a general meeting each month on the last Friday of each month with the days subject to change depending on officers' schedules. Be sure to check community announcements for updates and details. All administration, staff, and faculty are invited to attend and participate. Our first general meeting will take place at the ASC, where Officer Hector Padilla will be presenting on the evacuation procedure. His insights will be instrumental in helping us keep our campuses safe and prepared. Our annual turkey drive is scheduled for Monday, November 24th. Throughout the month of November, donations can be made with any CSA officer at any campus. Only on the 24th, we will accept frozen turkeys, and they must be dropped off by 10 a.m. at each campus. We're proud to be partnering with 3 nonprofit organizations, which we will officially announce in October. We're excited to announce that the Classified Staff Association Christmas Dance will be held on a Saturday, December 13th at the El Paso Municipal Police Officers Association, Lanahan Hall. More information will follow in the upcoming months. Only 100 tickets will be available. Tickets will be selling for $20 each at all campus cashiers. We're hoping for a full house, so grab your tickets early as soon as they are available and help us make this a joyful celebration to remember. We will be announcing all classified staff association events through the community announcements, so keep an eye out for the updates. Thank you so much for your time.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. My name is Luis Gonzalez, and I'm honored to be here today as the Vice President of the Student Government Association. I would like to share some initiatives that I've been working on this month to support and uplift our student community. On September 9, SGA was invited by Dr. Huerta to participate in the EPCC Campus Improvement Committee. This gave us the opportunity to highlight the departments and resources that have helped students succeed. We proposed improvements such as clearer signage at the Valle Verde campus and better customer service across student-facing offices. Moving on September 15th, we held our first official fall meeting, where we continue planning our annual event, Fall Fest. This year's celebration will feature live music, games, a costume contest, and active participation from our student clubs. It will take place on October 30th, 2025 at Americana Village, located in our Valle Verde campus, and we welcome everyone to join us. Earlier today, we also held our first organization council meeting, and it was inspiring to see our campus clubs launch into the fall semester with such energy and enthusiasm. These organizations truly represent the heartbeat of our student community. We currently have registered 33 clubs, each bringing something unique to campus life. A big shout out to every club for your dedication, creativity, and commitment. You bring life to our campus, and your efforts do not go unnoticed. Thank you for all that you do. We also responded to a practical need voiced by many students by replacing and adding new microwaves at Valle Verde campus, Northwest, Rio Grande, and Mission del Paso. To support this initiative, SGA allocated $500 to ensure more microwaves could be added where needed. This wouldn't have been possible without the support of Dr. Lidia Tena, Teresa Delgado, Noemi Beltran, Gladys Camacho, Mariano Olivas, Viviana Sanchez, and obviously our amazing advisors. We're incredibly grateful for their help. Thank you for your time and for your continued support of student leadership. We look forward to continue to work with other departments to build a stronger and enhanced campus together. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Welcome, members of the board, Mr. President, vice presidents, deans, everybody else. We believe that we have the SB 37 mandated faculty senate ready to go. Elections for division senators were held during Faculty Development Week. The names were sent to President Serrata, who then, as per the bill, chose one division senator to be the presidential appointed senator, and the second senator to be the faculty elected senator. The first meeting of the Senate will be Monday, October 13, 3:30 p.m. in ASC Building B, room B336. As per the law, it will be broadcast as to be available to everyone in the entire world. So if any of you happen to be vacationing in, Kathmandu, you can tune in to an undoubtedly scintillating Faculty Senate meeting. Thank you.
Section 1.8, Communications. Item 1.8.1, Discussion and review regarding data, statistics, policies, and general information related to El Paso Community College by the Board of Trustees. Item 1.8.1.1 was discussed with item 1.7.1. Section 1.9, Board of Trustees Business. Items 1.9.1 through 1.9.4 will be discussed after executive session. Section 1.10, Board Reports. Item 1.10.1, Treasurer's Report. There is none. Item 1.10.2, President's Report. Item 1.10.2.1, Dr. William Serrata, College President, will update the Board of Trustees and audience on recent events that have transpired at El Paso Community College.
Good evening, Chair Haggerty, members of the board. To kick off the fall 2025 semester, EPCC hosted the third annual Teal Bash at the Valle Verde campus on the 29th of August. It was a high-energy event that welcomed students with music, games, food, and club showcases. Dr. Carlos Amaya and I had the pleasure of welcoming our students to a new academic year, encouraging them to fully engage in campus life and take advantage of all EPCC has to offer, both inside and outside of the classroom. I'd like to thank the new student orientation team, student leadership, and campus life, our QEP team, and the dedicated team of staff and volunteers for their dedication and efforts in hosting a great event. I'd also like to thank Dr. Graham and Mr. Mendez, as well as their spouses, for joining us and representing the board. I'd like to congratulate Chrysalis, which has been awarded the 2024 Realm, our Recognizing Excellence in Art and Literary Magazines Excellence Award by the National Council of Teachers of English. EPCC was one of 125 Realm first-class recipients, following 421 entries that were received. The Realm publicly recognizes excellent literary magazines produced by students with the support of their faculty and is designed to encourage all schools to develop literary magazines that celebrate the art and craft of writing. Congratulations on this special recognition and great work impacting the students that we serve. The Language Institute continues to build community and language skills through its lunch and chat sessions every Tuesday and Thursday, where students practice English while discussing current topics and learning about EPCC and the community. On September 13th, the Institute participated in the Father and Son Conference at Eastlake High School, engaging with about 75 students and their fathers. Today, the Institute celebrates its 10th annual Language Institute Day at Americana Village, with students honoring their heritage by raising their country's flags and wearing traditional attire. I'm happy to share that Jorge Gomez, Yasmin Ramirez, and Margie Nelson Rodriguez, tenured English faculty members, have been selected as a faculty fellowship team for the prestigious Great Questions Foundation. This marks the first time EPCC faculty have earned this honor. The fellowship is highly competitive. 26 teams of 75 community college faculty members applied this year, with only 6 teams selected nationally. Over the next 2 years, our EPCC fellows will work alongside a national cohort of community college faculty to explore innovative pedagogical practices and redesign curriculum, aiming to elevate the humanities and increase student engagement in general education courses. As a part of this opportunity, the team will also be eligible to apply for curriculum redesign grants of up to $50,000, funding that could directly strengthen and enhance EPCC's English courses. This achievement not only highlights the dedication of our faculty, but also positions EPCC as a leader in advancing the humanities in community colleges across the nation. I'm pleased to report that Recruitment Services recently hosted the 4th annual EPCC Expo at the Mission del Paso campus, welcoming counselors and advisors from Region 19 schools. The full-day event was designed to strengthen partnerships with local educators, providing them with an in-depth look at EPCC's programs, services, and student support initiatives. Presentations were provided from admissions and registrars, financial aid, recruitment services, campus life, and some biology faculty who showcased the Mission del Paso campus garden and apiary. A big thank you to Mr. Michael Talamantes, Director of Recruitment Services, Dr. La Chica Chavez, and their teams for hosting a successful event. Special thanks to Dr. Amaya, Mr. Marco Fernandez, and Coach Hinojosa for their dedication to bringing the esports program to the college. The college will now compete nationally through the National Junior College Athletic Association esports, joining over 200 institutions in organized video game competitions. The New Tejanos esports team will begin competing this fall under interim coach Adan Lara, who brings a strong background in academics and competitive gaming. On September 11th, the college honored the lives lost during the 2001 attacks with a remembrance ceremony at the Valle Verde campus. The event held at 9:59 a.m. near the Architecture Building marked the fall of the first tower and invited students, faculty, staff, and community members to pause and reflect. The ceremony was organized by the Veterans Resource Center and our Student Veterans of America chapter, and featured heartfelt remarks from student veterans, staff, and a moment of silence to honor the significance of the day. Special thanks to Mr. Carl Dwyer, our VRC director, and Ms. Crystal Martinez, the SVA chapter president, for their leadership in creating a space to reflect on the past while honoring the service and sacrifice of veterans past and present. The VRC also hosted a new student orientation the same day for military-affiliated students and an SVA chapter meeting, continuing their work in supporting and guiding our veteran student community. On September 18th, the college had a professional development day, which we hold every fall, which, as well as spring, and gives our team a chance to learn new skills, share ideas, and find better ways to support our students. Following the morning session, I had the honor of presenting the State of the College address in the auditorium, where we reflected on key accomplishments from the past year and unveiled our 2025 through 2029 strategic plan. A big thank you to all the EPCC leaders across the district for encouraging your teams to get involved and for hosting great sessions district-wide. Your dedication to helping our staff grow makes a difference for our students and the college. I would also like to thank EPCC TV, Media Services, and Audio and Visual for ensuring that the address was streamed district-wide as well as online. Chair Haggerty, that concludes my report. I'm happy to respond to any questions that the board may have.
Anybody have any questions for Dr. Serrano? Thank you, Dr. Serrano,
Thanks, Judge.
for the update.
Item 1.11, consent docket, there is none. Section 2, administration. Item 2.1, CAM TASB policy for second reading and approval.
Move to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? Call a question?
Mr. Uxer,
Aye.
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Ms. Nájera,
Aye.
Dr. Graham,
Aye.
Mrs. Moy,
Aye.
Mr. Mendez,
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Section 3, Personnel. Item 3.1, Information Items, Institutionally, externally funded full-time staff and faculty appointments, extensions, resignations, and retirements. No action is required. Item 3.2, Faculty appointments and faculty extensions.
Motion on 3.2.
No, I don't think you need a note.
It says action.
It's an action item.
Oh, move to approve.
Gotta have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Mr. Uxer,
Aye.
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Ms. Nájera,
Aye.
Dr. Graham,
Aye.
Mrs. Moy,
Aye.
Mr. Mendez,
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Section 4, Financial Services, there is none. Section 5, Physical Facilities, there is none. Section 6, Curriculum and Instruction. Item 6.1, Discussion and Action on the Acceptance of the Computational Genomics and Cloud Computing Grant from the National Institute of Health National Cancer Institute in the amount of $484,764.
Move to approve 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, and 6.4.
Second.
Item 6.2, Discussion and Action on the Acceptance of a Grant from the Texas Workforce Commission, TWC, for dual credit healthcare in the amount of $224,554. Item 6.3, Discussion and Action on the Acceptance of a Grant from the Texas Workforce Commission, TWC, Apprenticeship Training Program in the amount of $179,222. Item 6.4, Discussion and Action on the Acceptance of a Grant from the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board in the amount of $43,104.
Point all these good people out to us, Dr. Smith, who got us all this money.
Yes, thank you. I don't know if you want to vote first.
Yeah, I think it's a
I
given.
don't
I
think
think
we're
it's a
gonna turn
given.
it down.
First of all, thanks for the opportunity. Unfortunately, some of the players here who will likely sound very familiar to you because they've brought grants before were not able to be here tonight. But first, for the National Institute of Health grants, of course, you have heard of Dr. Alvarez and the great work that she's done over the many, many years. One of her colleagues, Yamaro Chianelli, was unable to be here, but Dean Richard Webb is here, and so maybe recognize his efforts there, as well as, of course, the grants office through Bob Elliott. So thank you, Dean Webb, for that. You'll notice kind of a trend. There's a number of health occupations grants here. Many of our grant activities these days are focused on high-demand occupations, including nursing and healthcare. So, of course, Dr. Soraya Hajar has worked with the Workforce Commission to create opportunities for healthcare in her field. She's in the back there. And I'll skip one, but Dr. Hafid Guerrero, our nursing dean, also created a grant or received a grant to allow our students who complete our nursing program to sit for the NCLEX. So you may or may not know that the NCLEX exam is one of the more costly exams that students have to sit for. And so that grant will help pay for those students to take the NCLEX. The apprenticeship grant is a standard grant we get every year. I think Mr. Jose Casa Lopez is in the back. Mr. Blaine Primizic is traveling. But this, of course, is an incredibly important opportunity. All the data suggests that students who participate in the apprenticeship programs succeed at higher rates. So thank you for the opportunity, Judge.
Thank you, and thank you, and give our best to the staff to keep up the good work.
If we could just show them our appreciation.
Call the question, Bill.
We're going to
Mr.
ask, do we have the opportunity to ask questions before we vote?
Sure, you can ask
okay.
questions.
6.1. Okay, we have a grant of $484,000. I guess looks like it's spread over 3 years. Okay. So
3 years, yes, sir.
Okay, is this for curriculum development or is it for instruction? Is it both?
It's actually both. So it focuses on the creation of training, but it also trains faculty. I'll also point out that this is an exciting
opportunity for interdepartmental cooperation, cloud computing, and biosciences. It's my understanding cloud computing has nothing to do with meteorology.
Okay. If I understand, did I read in this that there'll be a cooperative with UTEP?
Correct.
Okay, so have we got the organization, who's the lead agency or who's responsible, or do we have co-bosses, or how does that work?
There are co-PIs on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so they'll work together on implementation and all the way across the board?
Correct,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. And I guess, I don't understand why full-timers and part-timers get different fringe benefits, but I will let it go. I figure that we've talked enough money there, so. Okay.
Any other questions?
As long as we grouped all of them, yeah, I have a question on 6.3.
Okay.
Okay, so we talk about this acceptance of grants work for commission on apprentice and traineeship programs, okay? When we go that, but I see, they're talking about 11 different programs and all this sort of thing, but I see it talks about only one organization, Southwest Line Constructors. Okay, now talk about a lot of things we do, electricians and painters and plumbers and everything, but what does Southwest Line Constructors do?
So let me first say that I will have to pull up Mr. Jose Casa Lopez, who probably has a little bit better information. But the reason that one is singled out is obviously because the dollar amount exceeds $50,000.
Okay.
So that's why it's listed separately. But I'll invite Mr. Casa Lopez up to share what that particular company does.
While he's coming, let me ask this, something else. We're just singled out because the volume, not because they're the only person involved in this.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Oh,
there,
okay.
there are 11 companies. This is the only one that's going to
Okay,
receive
so,
more than
and just
50.
singled out because of the dollar amount.
Correct.
Number one. Number two, I don't understand, will be funded at $3.18 per contact hour. I don't know how the contact hour, but we've gone over quite a bit about minimum wage and everything else, and I don't know where this fits into it, but $3.18 is a lot less than anything else we've been talking about. Where does this?
Yeah, this is a great question. These are not pay rates that people are receiving funding. A contact hour is how many minutes or hours a student is sitting in the particular training. So for every hour that a student is sitting in training, for the first part of that, we receive the $3.18.
EPCC receives that?
Correct.
Okay, so this is not a wage?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. So now let's go back to, I'll be glad to entertain Mr. What was that?
Good afternoon.
Hi.
What was your question? I'm sorry, sir.
See, let's go, what was it?
What does Southwest
Contract.
Line
What-
Constructor do?
What did that particular organization do?
They do the line construction for the electric company. They're like
Oh, okay,
subcontractors.
so this.
So they get training, safety training.
Oh, okay, so this is essentially an electrician's.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's all I want to know is the Southwest Line, and I don't know what that means. But before you go, I'd like to say this, just in general, okay, this is essentially and Dr. Soto, I made it through college because I had an internship and because I had debt. And I cannot overstate the value of internship. It gives you the opportunity to have the money. You actually become more aware of what money really means to you instead of what mom and dad cover you. It gives you a sense of responsibility. But more importantly, it gives you something to find out what you don't want to know. If you think that being an electrician is really great and you go out and all of a sudden you grab a hot wire on your second day on the job, you decide maybe you'd rather be a plumber than an electrician, But it is great, and it gives you the internship program gives the people the opportunity to say, hey, this is really what I want to do, and then you can go and you can use it. People that are hiring can tell if you want to be there or if you're there because you have to be. But if you say, hey, I'd like to have this job because I've done this work somewhere as an intern, that gives you a tremendous, I've been there, been the recipient of it, and I think that's something like this is is worth all the money that's going into it.
And these apprentices are already working in the industry, they're getting paid.
That's great.
Yes, sir.
That's great. So they've got beer money.
Yes, sir.
We didn't say that.
Any
Okay.
other questions? Call the question, Bill.
Mr. Uxer,
Aye.
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Ms. Nahida,
Aye.
Dr. Graham,
Aye.
Mrs. Moy,
Aye.
Mr. Mendez,
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Item 6.5, discussion and action on the acceptance of a
Thank you,
grant from the Communities Foundation of Texas in the amount of $25,000.
Move to approve?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. What does this mean? Technology Early College High School, P-TECH, this is the P-TECH, but is this one just for P-TECH in general? Is this a P-TECH slush fund? No, we can't use the word slush fund. Is this a general funding for P-TECH, or is this devoted to one particular institution, one particular function?
Yeah, this is a grant that supports all of our P-TECHs, and it's
Okay.
really kind of a technical support grant to provide more clear business and workforce training and pathways for our P-TECH students.
So do we have the funds, and all the different P-TECHs will say establish a need for it, and then there's a discussion? I mean, there's $25,000. Do you split, 2,000 to every P-TECH, or?
This is really for the Office of Dual Credit and Early College High School to
Okay.
work with the P-TECHs to support
Okay.
enhanced training
So this
programs.
is this back office work for all the?
Pretty much, yes, sir.
Okay, okay, that's good.
Any other questions? Call the question, Bill.
Mr. Uxer,
Aye.
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Ms. Nahida,
Aye.
Dr. Graham,
Aye.
Mrs. Moy,
Aye.
Mr. Mendez,
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Item 6.6, discussion and action on the acceptance of a grant from the Texas Library and Archives Foundation, Inc. in the amount of $10,000.
Move to approve?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. Okay, this is the Laura Bush type library, but we have, who's responsible for that? And who is, who needs to fund the insurance program, the liability out of it? I mean, we don't talk, but all of a sudden there really is a potential liability and, administration and.
I'll ask Dr. Smith to begin, and then I'm happy to
So,
chat.
so to answer the first part of your question, Dr. Paula Mitchell oversees all of the libraries district-wide. Our head librarian at that campus is Miss Lauralee Ambrose.
Okay.
And she's probably the one instrumental in acquiring the grants, which I understand we're in our 20-year time frame for getting this particular grant.
Yeah, so essentially, is it our library or functionally, are we cooperative, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's our library. Originally, it's a partnership with the city. They provide some library activities as well. But it's our library. We hire the folks. They're our employees. We periodically do receive money from the city for those activities. But this particular grant is not related to that. That's more to provide library resources
Yeah,
and
okay.
activities for
No, I
students.
was just wondering, who's really responsible and who makes the decisions on
It's
how
the
to spend the
college.
money?
Yeah, the college does.
Oh, okay. We put their name on it. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Call the question, Bill.
Mr. Uxer,
Aye.
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Ms. Nahida,
Aye.
Dr. Graham,
Aye.
Mrs. Moy,
Aye.
Mr. Mendez,
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Item 6.7, discussion and action on the approval of the new Accounting Technician Occupational Skills Award, OSA.
Move to approve 6.7, 6.8, and 6.9?
Have a second?
Second.
Go ahead and read the others, Bill.
Item 6.8, discussion and action on the approval of the new Automotive Maintenance Technician Occupational Skills Award, OSA. Item 6.9, discussion and action on the approval of the new Basic Peace Officer Level 1 certificate.
Any discussion?
Yes. Okay. 6.7, to approve new occupational skill award for accounting as required by the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. So what we're doing is we're requesting from Higher Education Board in Austin to approve this particular designation.
So, Mr. Uxer, for every new program that gets created, we bring it to the Board of Trustees. There's also approvals through the coordinating board and potentially other areas like Department of Labor and SACCOC if it's of an appropriate length.
So are we adding classes, we adding restrictions, we adding something, or are we just aggregating some administrative items and then, so we can call it, if you complete courses this, this, and this, then you get this award because we've met some requirement from somebody else?
So House Bill 8 of the 2023 legislative session allowed us to create shorter-term training programs. That was a significant aspect of that bill. And so most of the actually all of the programs that are being presented here consist of subsets of currently offered programs. So we have an accounting degree, two-year degree. We're taking a subset of those and creating this occupational achievement award in accounting technician.
Okay, so in other words, we're just looking to an aggregate set of classes and say, wait a minute, this then qualifies for something. Can then apply that same concept of 6.8, the Technician Occupational Skills Award? Is that the same thing?
That's exactly the same thing, sir.
Okay.
The only caveat I'd add, Mr. Uxer, is that we work with employers to identify these based on need of the employer. What we've done at the college, Dr. Smith and his team at my direction, is we will only offer OSAs that will provide a living wage. We're not going to offer OSAs, Occupational Skills Award, just to recoup the funding from the state. We want to make sure that it's going to be viable as far as an employment credential, so that the student can earn at least a living wage while they're continuing their education.
So there's some sort of administrative cost that you allocate to this, but it's something that we'll recoup. It's not out of our budget
It is within the budget. Yeah,
I mean, out of, any more than what we already have?
Correct.
Okay, okay. Oh, and then 6.9, you read that? And once we get these new officer basic piece, officers level 1, what we're going to do, train them and then they're going to leave? I know
We
the
already,
chief is not here.
Yeah, it's always a challenge, right? If we train people up and they move out of the region. We're already offering this program, Mr. Uxer. What we're doing is converting it from a CE program to a credit program. That's good for a number of reasons, including making sure that the students will be able to apply for Pell and other aid as well.
Well, just out of curiosity, what's our retention and need in the officer area?
Well, we just had our 100th graduating class, so it's pretty high. I'd have to get you direct numbers, but they're very, very successful in getting the majority of the students through effectively.
Yeah, this is through our law enforcement academy, so
Yeah.
separate and apart from our police
Okay,
department.
but our police department, do they get first call?
They have an opportunity to hire these
Do we have a
individuals.
shortage on our?
We actually have addressed that. Dr. Amaya and his team, working with Ms. Field and Human Resources, as well as Mr. Flores, have addressed our police department shortages. We've made adjustments. I believe that we're in good standing right now. Dr. Amaya, if you have anything to add, please.
Sure, we're always working to hire more officers, but I will tell you that across the region, there's a shortage of police officers. We had a career fair that Career and Transfer Services held today, and we saw the Sheriff's Department there, EPISD Police, El Paso Police, federal agencies, and I talked to all of them, and they're all sharing those same challenges. So they're looking at our students that are graduating from the Law Enforcement Training Academy. They were there as well.
Okay, I was just going to say with the current change in administrative priorities, are we losing anybody to other agencies, Homeland Security, Border Patrol, ICE, any other agent? Are we subject to being, if we develop somebody that's good and they say, okay, look, here's what we can do for you federally?
Yeah, we do, Mr. Uxer, and it's hard, the federal agencies, you've heard some of those bonuses and the salaries. Some of the local agencies shared those same frustrations today when I met with them.
Follow the money. Any other questions?
No.
Call the question, Bill.
Mr. Uxer.
Aye.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Nájera.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Mrs. Moy.
Aye.
Mr. Mendez.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Item 6.10, discussion and action on the approval of the restated and amended Tornillo Early College High School interlocal agreement.
Move to approve 6.10 and 6.11.
Second.
Item 6.11, discussion and action on the approval of the Isleta Independent School District, El Paso County Community College District, and Texas Tech University Health Science Center at El Paso interlocal agreement.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question. This with Tornillo, does it involve significant changes, or are we just change the language, or does it have specific delineation of authority or responsibility? How come it needs to be restated?
Yeah, they renew every 3 years or so, Mr. Uxer. There are some changes. Sometimes the coordinating board will add additional requirements, such as a crosswalk, which is one of the changes from the previous agreement that we had with Tornillo, is the creation of a crosswalk from high school and college courses. And they do sometimes mandate certain changes.
Okay, so,
There's not substantial changes in this particular one from the last one.
so there was nothing with the previous interlocal, it wasn't found that there was something there that we should have been addressed or something like that?
Correct.
Okay. And then I guess on 6.11 is all you ask it. This is about this, what is our success with the nurses out dual credit? Is that having the same positive effect as, say, just the general nursing program? I mean, it's doing well from what I understand, let me put it that way, but is it?
I wouldn't say that it has the same success rate as our traditional nursing program. It's an opportunity for high school students to engage. We have had, to my recollection, I recall a young lady who had completed the program at 19, went on to Texas Tech to earn her BSN, and was enrolled in an MSN program quickly. But please, Dr. Smith.
Yeah, this particular arrangement, so some of the previous agreements where we just had dual credit nursing classes at a high school were maybe less successful. They run into the same, they being the ISDs, run into the same staffing issues that we do, keeping qualified nursing faculty. This agreement's a little bit different because it includes the ISD, the college, and Texas Tech. And so it's a little more structured program. Very similar to the program, by the way, you just approved recently with Silva Magnet School. And so we think we're going to see a much stronger student come out of this three-way agreement.
Yeah, it doesn't, to me, it seems like it gives them the opportunity to see if they really want to spend, the extra academic time. That's a benefit to us and them and
It does.
and the industry, I guess.
It does. It gives the high school student opportunity to experience the demand of the healthcare industry and to determine at that point if this is going to be in their future.
Essentially a specialized internship,
Somewhat.
academically.
Without pay.
Well, of course.
Any other questions? Call a question, Bill.
Mr. Uxer,
I'm through. Yes.
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Ms. Nájera,
Aye.
Dr. Graham,
Aye.
Mrs. Moy.
For 6.10I, I'll abstain from 6.11 due to my position at YISD.
Mr. Mendez.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Section 7, Student Services, Item 7.1, discussion and action on the approval of continuing education, CE tuition rates for new courses.
Move to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Mr. Uxer,
Aye.
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Ms. Nájera,
Aye.
Dr. Graham,
Aye.
Mrs. Moy,
Aye.
Mr. Mendez.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Section 8, Community Services, there is none. Would the board like to recess into executive session? Item 1.3, Executive and Closed Session. The Board of Trustees may conduct an executive or closed session pursuant to Chapter 551 of about a prospective gift or donation. 4, consideration of specific personnel matters. 5, discussion about security, personnel, or devices. Or 6, discussion of certain economic development matters. The board may also announce that it will go into executive session on any item listed on this agenda if the subject matter is permitted for a closed session by provisions of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. Any vote regarding these items shall be taken in open session. Item 1.3.1, discussion with legal counsel regarding Texas Senate Bill 2615, 89th Legislative Regular Session pursuant to Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code. Item 1.3.2, discussion with legal counsel regarding Texas Senate Bill 412, 89th Legislative Regular Session pursuant to Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code. Item 1.3.3, discussion with legal counsel regarding Executive Order Number G848 relating to the hardening of state government pursuant to Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code. The time is now 6:25 and the board is in executive session.
can you read 1.9.1?
Yes, sir. Item 1.9.1, discussion and take possible action regarding Texas Senate Bill 2615, 89th Legislative Regular Session, 2025.
No action. 1.9.2?
Discussion and take possible action regarding Texas Senate Bill 412, 89th Legislative Regular Session, 2025.
No action. 1.9.3?
Discussion and take possible action regarding Executive Order Number GA48 relating to the hardening of state government.
Move to approve that we adopt the policy as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question, Bill.
Mr. Uxer.
Aye.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Nájera.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Mrs. Moy.
Aye.
Mr. Mendez.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye. 1.9.4, Bill.
Discussion and action to approve general license agreement, internet radio performance license agreement, and any other related agreements with Global Music Rights LLC.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Mr. Uxer. Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Ms. Nájera.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Mrs. Moy.
Aye.
Mr. Mendez.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye. And I'd like to remind everyone that we will be here on October the 30th at 4:30 for our board meeting in October. And on that note, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.